Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. Some of the reviews for Cyberpunk 2077 point out that Keanu Reeves' dialogue as Johnny Silverhand is a bit wooden. I feel like those reviewers have never seen a Keanu Reeves movie. Keanu Reeves is always wooden. His delivery lines can be described as only a mixture of confusion and brain trauma. We're talking about a former rock star who used to play quarterback, was involved in high-end extreme sports-themed bank robberies, and also happens to design and ride motorcycles on the side when he's not being Cyber Jesus in The Matrix. Usually people who live such a colorful life develop very unique cadences and speech patterns. It just happens. Look at Christopher Walken. Taken out of context, Keanu Reeves is not great at delivering dialogue and might be perceived as a mediocre actor. But that's not why people like Keanu Reeves. That's not why Keanu Reeves is probably one of the most beloved and popular actors in the world. It's really about the characters that he's played. It's about how he carries himself outside of acting as a human being. And it's about the sheer determination this man has to be the best at whatever he's doing. Even if he does fall short by traditional acting standards, I believe individuals who focus too much on the mechanics fail to see the larger picture. Because we all know that Keanu Reeves is not great at delivering lines. It almost makes him relatable and someone that we want to root for. The reality is Keanu Reeves is more than just an actor we see on the screen. He's someone we've all grown up with, and he's become a reoccurring character in the peripherals of our life. Now, I used to work as a camera guy, so I was constantly seeing rich and famous people, but I was never really that interested in meeting many of them. But Keanu Reeves has always been at the top of my list of people that I'd want to meet. Unlike Matt Damon, who I really don't trust and I think is legitimately a bad person who's trying to harm people close to me. I also think he might doom humanity again with his selfishness. And I feel like a lot of actors are kind of like that. They're icky people, but not Keanu. You know, the same Keanu Reeves who rides the New York subway and is willing to give his seat up to random strangers, the same Keanu who gave $75 million of his cut of The Matrix to the production crew, and on another movie gifted his entire stunt team Harley Davidsons. The same Keanu Reeves whose personal life is full of tragedies, yet he still remains upbeat, hopeful, and delivering a positive message. This is the same Keanu Reeves who is always seen sitting on benches alone, sad and dejected, so much so that there is now a holiday on June 15th called Cheer Up Keanu Day. How could you not want to hang out and interact with this beautiful example of a human being? And now, in the midst of this pandemic that has trapped people at home, away from their school, workplaces, colleagues, family, and friends, what better way to alleviate that loneliness and boredom than by plugging Keanu Reeves directly into your skull? That is the premise of his Johnny Silverhand character. Keanu Reeves plays a rock star anti-corporation terrorist whose ultimate act of defiance gets him killed and his consciousness uploaded onto a USB stick. That Keanu stick eventually gets shoved into your character, V's, head. The only problem is that that chip is designed to basically wipe out V's personality and replace it with Johnny Silverhands. And so immediately right off the bat, you're gonna have this pretty antagonistic relationship. This alone should be enough to make this game Keanu Reeves' best role. I mean, The Matrix was fun and all, but you were just an observer. Same thing with John Wick and Speed and all those other films. In Cyberpunk, you constantly are battling or trying to find peace with the fact that Keanu Reeves is in your head, and it's one of the coolest parts of the game. Johnny Silverhand might seem like a cliche character within the cyberpunk genre, down to the metal hand, chain-smoking cigarettes, and aviators, but as the story goes on, depending on your actions, you will begin to affect him, and he will begin to affect you. You guys are, after all, stuck in the same body. And Johnny doesn't just appear in the main story, he's everywhere. He pops up in side quests and is always in the room in one way or another, ready to give you his opinion or point of view. A lot of times, Johnny's opinion was actually more important to me than the actual people I was trying to help out. It's kind of nice having a friend inside of your head that only you can see and talk to, and at the same time is not a symptom of mental illness. It's especially cool when I notice something funny or messed up in the game and suddenly Johnny appears out of nowhere and also makes a comment about that same thing. Johnny isn't always right or even a good person, of course, but what he does always have is a strong opinion. And that brings depth and an additional layer to every conversation and mission that V partakes in. It's almost like you're playing the game co-op sometimes. And just like the main character V, I at first was pretty anxious about this idea of having Keanu Reeves stuck in my head and slowly, eating away my personality. But as the game continued, I slowly became comforted by the fact that I was never alone. And because in my playthrough Johnny Silverhands started caring more about V, I too started seeing my own character as more than just some dirty nomad. And it was actually very rewarding to see Johnny and V reach sort of an agreement or symbiosis towards the latter parts of the game. Now, for those people who criticize Keanu Reeves as being wooden, well, keep in mind just how many lines of dialogue one needs to do for a video game like this. Not only does Keanu Reeves' line delivery stay excellent throughout the game, I would argue it's one of his better performances to date. His lines of dialogue here are definitely more interesting than the 3 lines of dialogue he had in the John Wick films. Johnny Silverhands is probably one of the reasons why I'm still playing this game right now. Because even though I've had the final mission for the game available now for dozens of hours, I've kind of avoided it because I don't want the game to end, and so slowly I'm just winding my way through all those intricate side missions, which to be honest are oftentimes better written and more interesting than the actual main story. So yeah, Johnny Silverhand is Keanu Reeves' best role. Because Keanu Reeves is not Gary Oldman or Daniel Day-Lewis. He works as hard as they do, I'm sure, but he's not an actor's actor. He's a true entertainer. And the video game format gives him an opportunity to connect and interact with fans in a way he's never been able to before. So Keanu Reeves, thank you for being you, and thank you for being a part of Cyberpunk, because honestly, it was a mess on launch and you were one of the highlights in the game. And even though there is a possibility that you are an immortal being with endless potential, I hope Cyberpunk 2077 remains one of the highlights in your eternal career. Now guys, let me know in the comments section below what you think about my opinion here. I'm sure a lot of you guys disagree that Johnny Silverhand is Keanu Reeves' best role yet. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that life is a movie and you are the protagonist.